You turn my morning into dancing. Your love changes everything. There's something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. 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 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. Oh, there's something about your love, something about your love changes everything in my body. Oh, something about your love, something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into
morning, Rooted Men. It's so good to see you this morning. I can't wait to talk about today's subject. It's been a crazy day and a night. We have 16 people online, and 5 of them are on X, which, as everybody knows, was attacked last night, which I thought was really crazy. What? It seems like the more technology we have, the more vulnerable we are. I don't know why that is. It seems like we should be getting better at blocking these instead of worse. But we're also doing a lot of things now that we never were allowed to do. So let's see who we have with us. Ready? What did I do? Over clicking. That's what I do. Good morning, Dave Donnelly. And Tom Donnelly. You guys could be related. Thank you again, Tom, for the guidance this morning and scaring me a little bit. Chris Connolly, good morning. Chuck B, good morning. And where are we at? I know there's more. I saw them. Oh, there's a bunch more. Look at all these names. Ken Gooch, good morning, brothers in arms, fellow brothers in arms. And Eric Veal. Is it Viel? I don't know. I should ask you. And me, and there's another Steve. And, Pastor Tom again. I'm sorry. Okay, so we got quite a list on here. Oh, wait a minute. A sister listening in. Oh, that means we got to behave, boys. And it's not my strong suit behaving. I'll be honest with you. So. All right, so today's verse is from 1 Corinthians 10, and it's 23 through 29. And Paul's talking about eating foods. It's almost like the morning. This is like a morning devotion, 8 o'clock, 8:30 devotion. Good morning, Vivian. And Vili. Wow, I've been saying it wrong all this time. I'm sorry, Eric. I should have asked you that sooner. Okay. 1 Corinthians 10, verse 23. I think I can pull it up here and we can get started. Okay, you stream, yeah. I'm still working on it. I'm slow. Sorry. Hopefully you can read that and we'll be good to go. Of course, I can't read it, so now I gotta go back here. I have the right to do anything, you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but not everything is constructive. No one should seek their own good, but the good of others. Eat anything sold on the meat market without raising questions of conscience. For the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. If an unbeliever invites you to a meal and you want to go, eat whatever is put before you without raising questions of conscience. But if someone says to you, this has been offered in a sacrifice, then do not eat it, both for the sake of the one who told you and for the sake of conscience. I am referring to the other person's conscience, not yours. For why is my freedom being judged by another's conscience? Okay. These kind of verses kind of hit home a little bit because it's... What is Paul trying to say? The very first verse he says, all things are lawful for me. Some people have taken these verses and said, that means the law is dead. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. Other people have taken the thing and they say, well, he's just talking about eating food for idols. But then if you read back into 1 Corinthians 6, he says the very same thing when he's talking about sexual immorality. He starts out the exact same way. He always talks about the law. I mean, if you look at Romans, he says in 3:31, he says, if then we nullify the law by this faith. No, not at all. He says, do we nullify the law by this faith? And he goes, no, not at all. Rather, we uphold the law. Or in Romans, later in Romans in 7:12, he goes, so then the law is holy, and the commandment is holy, righteous, and good. So he is definitely not throwing away the law. He is not saying it doesn't exist anymore, it's gone. He's telling them it's a matter of conscience. And I think that's the key to it. You don't want to feel guilty for something that's not really illegal anymore, like eating food. He doesn't want you to even ask. He doesn't want you to even wonder. Just eat it and feel free in knowing that you're good inside because of what Christ has done. And then he comes on in the second verse and says, for the sake of others. What does he mean by that? Well, why would he say the sake of others? And the funny thing is, as I'm reading it, this verse popped into my head, and I'm like, this fits with this. And he goes, because he says, Jesus told us to love the Lord your God with all your mind, all your heart, and all your strength. Or maybe I get those backwards. I think it's heart, mind, strength. Anyway, and love others as yourself. He's telling us it's not about us. It's not about us. In the fact that we worry about things like that, we should set aside those worries and focus more on the task at hand. We should set aside the worries and worry about. And if we're going to be concerned with our conscience, we should be concerned with the new believer's conscience. The person that is at this church as Corinth is bringing in people like crazy, and then he's tying these weights around their neck, and he says, we have to be careful. This person knows our true traditions. He knows that we don't eat this stuff by our old Levitical law. And then if he sees us doing it, it makes him question us. And so his conscience will be burdened, just like ours is if we know. There's so much there that is so, for me, it's very convoluted. It's very complicated as I read through this, trying to find out what exactly I'm doing and what I'm not doing. I can't help but believe that Paul just wants us to do what we're supposed to do with a clean conscience. You know how many times I've said conscience, right? I've said it, and then, of course, Paul says it a lot too. But then he tells us near the end that if someone tells you the food is sacrificed to idols, then you shouldn't eat it. But the twist that he puts into it is it's not because of your conscience, but because the conscience of the new believer, the conscience. And Tom and I talked a little bit about this before I came on. It's like you don't want to burden somebody else who's struggling with your flaws. If you're around an alcoholic that's quit drinking and has straightened his life out, the thing you should be concerned with is drinking in front of them. Or somebody that you wouldn't take somebody that struggles with sexual sin to a strip club. There's things that we do that we're careful with around a struggling or somebody that struggles with these sins. It's a complicated one for me. It wasn't, I don't know how well I explained it, but I tried. It's always about others. This whole thing is always about the others. I sometimes, when I go to the park on Thursday nights, and I'm sitting there doing balloons, and 2 hours in, 3 hours in, and I start feeling tired. And trust me, anybody that's helped me knows it's not easy to sit there that long and do balloons. It gets tiring. And then all of a sudden, this little one will come up, and you see the joy that they get from that balloon, and you don't remember you're tired anymore, and you don't remember your hands hurt anymore. To me, that's what Jesus is talking about, and Paul is talking about. It's always about the other. I mean, Jesus' whole ministry was about the other. He came for us, not himself. It didn't benefit God and Jesus in any way to send Jesus in to die. It benefited us. Just like anything else we do, we should do it to the glory of God, looking at others first. That's what I have. That's what I took from this whole thing. Thank you for joining me this morning. I appreciate that you're patient with me sometimes. And look at this. I'm done fairly early. It's not like me. Anybody else pop in? Okay. Bert Reggiani. Good morning, Bert. Oh, there he is. I got him. Vivian Davis said, amen. Thank you, Vivian. I always count on you for a good word. Tom said, great job. And Aaron, thank you very much. And Chuck, amen too. Wow, affirmation. I love that. All right, that's for others. Have a nice day. And may someone see Jesus in you today.